Greater Houston Pachyderm Club. And we appreciate your coming today as we talk about minority growth in the Republican Party. There is probably no issue that's more important than expanding the Republican Party. And to expand it and to bring in new voters, we must be inclusive. And I know that's kind of a catchphrase of various types, but it's the truth. We must be welcoming, we must be assertive, and we must set out strategies that will bring all of our conservative citizens and all of our citizens into the Republican Party. You've got some great panelists here today, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. I wanted to try to come up with a way of starting this that might be of some interest. And the one thing I found was, I was doing some research, and I found a statement that was written by a really significant political leader in the United States. And I thought it kind of epitomizes some of the issues that we need to deal with and talk about openly. But I was a little surprised that a person of this magnitude in our country would say this, and I'd like to just take a second and read it to you. At first, they declined to meddle in our elections, but now they come in droves. Few of their children in our country learn English. Advertisements intended to be general are now printed in both languages. The signs in our streets have inscriptions in both languages, and in some places only in theirs. They will soon outnumber us, and all the advantages we have will not be able to preserve our language, and even our government will become precarious. Now, I was kind of surprised that a major governmental official in the United States would make that kind of statement. But I'm sure that when Benjamin Franklin made it about the Germans in Pennsylvania, he didn't have the full knowledge that he would gain later. Now, the reason I told you that is to tell you that there really usually is not much new under the sun. It's just how we deal with it in our generation and in our time. And today, we are very honored to have four extremely important folks to be with us. And the first one that's going to speak to you is Leo Vasquez. Leo and I have been friends for a long time. We know a lot about each other, and it kind of reminds me of mutually assured destruction. I can't pick on him because he can pick on me. Now, Leo is a great guy. Leo is the grandson of a local merchant with a third-grade education in a small Texas town 70 miles northwest of Laredo. His other grandparents came from Monterrey, Mexico, and moved to San Antonio in the 1940s. He was able to, his father served in the military, retired military, as I recall, and is now with Homeland Security at the San Antonio Airport, in charge of Homeland Security at the San Antonio Airport. Leo was able to go to a minor college and get a degree in economics from Yale and a MBA in finance from Columbia. But in spite of a secondary education like that, he has done very well. He is the former tax assessor, collector, and voter registrar in Houston, and is now with Texas-based Maximus Coffee Group, which is one, if not, it's one of the largest coffee companies in the world. And he probably wouldn't tell you this, but the largest traded commodity in the world is oil. The second largest commodity traded in the world is coffee. And so he has done very well for himself. He was appointed by Governor Perry to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, which is our group that runs the prison system. And Governor Perry appointed me as a commissioner of the Texas Juvenile Probation Commission. So I try to take care of them, and if my efforts don't work, Leo gets them. But he's a great guy, he's a great Republican, and help me welcome Leo Vasquez.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction, Bob.
Nice and
Later, we can go over all that. And I appreciate having the opportunity to be first here on this panel, because I expect that my fellow panelists are going to be a tough act to follow. So I'm really glad that I'm up here first. And I appreciate all of you being here, coming in from around the various states that you've traveled from. And I think this is very important that we all come together like this and really get perspectives from different parts of the country. Let me start out by kind of citing a few statistics. Just last week, I was actually traveling on business in Chicago. One of our major clients at this big coffee plant is a global Fortune, say, $150 billion a year company, a consumer product goods company. And we were speaking with their North American president, very dynamic guy. And he pointed out that in the top 10 markets in the United States, over half the growth of population in those top 10 markets is coming from the Hispanic population. Just think about that. In Texas already, and probably a lot of different border states, Hispanics are already a plurality. And at least in Texas, and I expect Arizona and other border states, were forecast to be the majority, actually over 50% of the population. That may be difficult for Montana to comprehend, but I mean, down on this level, on this tier of states, we're growing and growing fast. And on average, the Hispanic population is much younger than the overall U.S. population. And looking around this room, I can guarantee it's lower than the average of Pachyderms. Just saying. Let's start talking about sayings. Let's talk about some of the rhetoric that is out here, that we hear out in the public. Now, I'm about to say a couple lines here that they're not my lines. These are what we hear. These are what people hear. It may not be exactly the word stated, but think of it as what is being heard. So forgive me on some of these statements, but what the rhetoric sounds like is, all those damn Mexicans are freeloaders and criminals. All those damn Mexicans came to the U.S. to get our benefits. All those damn Mexicans are draining our taxes. All those white people are our Aryan Brotherhood neo-Nazis. Oh. Huh. Twist on that, huh? How does it feel? Let's build a fence to keep all those damn Mexicans out. Well, let's recap these these statements here, A through E. First of all those damn Mexicans, there are Mexicans, there are Cubans, there are Puerto Ricans, there are Guatemalans, Salvadorians, all down the line. That's part of something that's very different. We got to remember, when we lump Hispanics all in one category, it's a very diverse group of people. And I can tell you, Mexicans are different than Puerto Ricans, who are different than Cubans, and even probably a Mexican in Chicago is probably a little different than a Mexican in Texas and everything as well. So it's just a very diverse, we're trying to put this one label on everything. It really isn't. It's extremely difficult to put one big label across the whole universe of Hispanics. So with all this type of rhetoric that goes out there, the 22-year-old Hispanic college graduate, all they're hearing on that is saying that, God, man, all those Republicans are talking about rounding up grandma and sending her back down to Mexico City. That's what they hear. That's what we're hearing. And also some of this rhetoric, let's face it, scares all the little old white ladies spread around the country, watching Fox News, and they all get panicked. I love Fox News, by the way, okay? Well, and also what this is doing, we're really turning off all the Hispanics by this type of rhetoric that goes out there, including the very conservative Hispanics. Let's talk about conservative and values and such. We all know the terms faith, family, hard work, limited government. These are our Republican principles, yes? I'm telling you right here and now, these are Hispanic principles. They've been matched. They're the exact same thing. We got to make sure everyone understands that tie-in. A lot of Hispanics came here from other countries to get away from big government. They had governments, corrupt, and we've all heard the stories and anecdotes about things that go on in some of these other countries. Again, they are trying to get away from that. The Republican Party, conservative people in politics want limited, smaller government. That's what Hispanics want by and large, just like white people sitting here in this room. Let's remember that. Again, they're businessmen and women, hard workers. How often do you see a Hispanic standing on a street corner asking for a handout? You don't. You see them standing, at least in some areas in Houston and San Antonio, I'm sure, and all over. If they're standing on a street corner, they're waiting with the hope of getting picked up for a job to go earn a living for the day. So it's just, that's the kind of, that attitude. We got to remember these are industrious people. Not that, just like white people, there's the bad apples, and then there's everyone else as well. I probably shouldn't go on too much longer here without talking about the 800-pound enchilada in the room. Immigration and amnesty. I'm sure y'all, that just popped somewhere in the back of your head a little while ago here. Let's talk about amnesty. Doing nothing is amnesty. Y'all understand that? If we don't do anything, hey, it's amnesty. You're just letting everything stay as is. Now, the problem is right now the far left and the far right all want such extremes. The far left is saying, we want immediate citizenship for everybody. That's ridiculous. The far right is saying, let's round up them 14 million, pop them on buses and send them out. That's ridiculous too. It isn't going to happen. We have to base the policies and statements that we work on in reality. So, like it or not, there are a lot of U.S. citizens here in the United States that are from parents who came here illegally. It's the way the U.S. Constitution is and everything. Right now, those are U.S. citizens, like it or not. A lot of these kids, these youths growing up, part of this future that's happening that we're all going to need to be relying on to keep being the workers in our companies and such. They don't speak a lick of Spanish. I mean, come on, you can't be sending them back. So the solution, and we've all heard the terms, comprehensive immigration reform. We have to make sure that word comprehensive is used. These Band-Aids that we keep putting on things that have been put on years and years ago, and every once in a while let's put another Band-Aid on it. It's never going to work when we do that. We need to have a national ID card, or at least states using similar technology on whatever IDs that each state issues. I can tell you it works. How I know it can work? I've got a little piece of plastic in my wallet right now that I can take anywhere in the world, and they recognize that little magnetic strip on back. So if MasterCard, Visa, American Express can do it, why can't, I mean, it's not that difficult, guys. Just let's agree and move forward. We need to make legal immigration more efficient. If any of you all are aware of it takes years of effort to get this immigration system going. They got to hire, there's lawyers that you have to hire. It's just a real difficult situation to go through. We need to get a guest worker program. Half the reason people come up here, well, we know the reason they come up is to work and support their families. Most of the reason why they don't go back is because they're scared they might not make it back across the border again. They don't want to take that risk. They just hunker down here in the U.S. If there's an effective guest worker program where people can go back and forth, I can guarantee you that the population will migrate back and forth. They're not just going to plant roots here and be here forever. We have to make sure the E-Verify system works that the government is starting and building up. If that all is in place and it really is effective and you have fast-track correction, there's going to be errors if you have some massive database. We have to make sure there's a fast-track repair when there are errors. If all these things are in place, there would be no reason whatsoever for a business owner to hire an illegal alien. I mean, if they have a legal residency status, they have actually a work permit, you're crazy to hire an illegal if you don't have to. And then when we talk about comprehensive reform, And remember, we're here from Texas, so, let's make sure that the penalty is really steep. If we have all these in place and you knowingly hire an illegal alien under that circumstance, fry them, right? Put them away, lock them away. Make it where there's some real teeth in the laws right now. We all hear, there's laws on the books, they're not being enforced. Let's comprehensively start over and make the system work. Now, the last little part, when we start using the amnesty part, and my recommendation, it's my solution I would like to put forth, is not going to make the left happy, and it's not going to make the right happy. But for those who are already here, being productive members of society, give them legal residency, but only legal residency, not citizenship. The left, it'll go nuts because they say, no, they should have citizenship. Just like, no, I'm sorry, they broke the law, they came here illegally, their penalty is no citizenship. But the pragmatic, realistic middle ground, give them legal residency. Obviously, you put on all the different rules, they have to learn English, and prove that they can actually read and write and speak the language, pay taxes, no felonies, no drugs. You all can go ahead and build a laundry list of whatever it is. That's a reasonable compromise that could work. Now, if you say no citizenship ever, you might have some difficulty getting that actually passed in Washington. Maybe you make a penalty at the end saying, all right, 20 years before you can even apply to citizenship or something like that. But that we can leave for them to argue about there in Washington. Obviously, we'd have to set an eligibility date that has already passed. So we don't want to say, all right, everyone is here by January 1st, 2012. And the U-Hauls would be going one way. Again, a realistic solution. It's a penalty to lawbreakers. It gets us moving forward. And that's what we need to do. And I can tell you right now, and most of the Hispanics are living under the radar, out of the system. They don't really care about citizenship. They just want legal residency where they can come out of the shadows and keep working and supporting their families. So that's a really important distinction. Getting here towards the end of some of my thoughts here, in deference to my fellow panelists here, let's start talking more specific numbers and what we're going after. Right now, at least historically, we have Democratic precincts that vote 98% Democrat, and we know that it is predominantly, it's African-American precincts. Lots of statistics show how strongly the African-Americans vote Democrat, which, again, to me doesn't make sense because a lot of the church values and things are Republican values. But nevertheless, the percentages are, we've heard 98%, maybe hopefully other folks can help clarify that for us. Hispanics, we've been seeing vote anywhere from 30% even up to as high as 45% Republican already. Look at our former governor, George W. Bush in Texas. He got, 45%? It is sometimes even more of the Hispanic vote. It can be done. We can actually make the Hispanic vote look just like the white vote. They're not going to all be Republican. They're not going to all be Hispanic or Democrat. You're going to have 40% Republican, 40% Democrat, and that 20% in the middle we can fight over. And our good ideas and matching their principles will win them over. So if we can cut out the rhetoric, that'll happen. And also, again, as I advocate to go push for let's go after that Hispanic vote first. Remember, we're the fastest growing segment of the population. That's just the way it is. Let's all work on that in here together. So the Republicans are really missing an opportunity right now with all this vitriol and rhetoric. Be practical about getting young workers in here. Who's going to pay for this broken Social Security system for all the, it's going to go broke if we don't bring in a whole slug of new younger people who are going to be contributing it for a long time to get it solvent again. And if we want to talk economics later, we can talk about private investment funds, which are a great thing. I want to wrap up with one kind of last story. As Bob mentioned, I served 2 years as the Harris County tax assessor collector and also the voter registrar. And in that position, on the voter registration, I was able to go and attend some of the naturalization ceremonies that when we have all these folks who came from all over the world, it was something, if any of you have a chance to do it, right after the ceremony, the League of Women Voters scans out and hands out voter registration cards, and it's just a great, exciting thing. We tend to forget as we're going through our daily lives that there are, America's the beacon from around the world that people risk everything to get here. Each one of those ceremonies is the most usually in a big arena. There's 2,500 people in kind of every other month that are new citizens. You're in there, you get goosebumps watching it happen and seeing, the joy in these people's faces of every different color, every different nationality. That's what it's about. Those people were able to go through the legal process, and Lord knows how many years it took them to get it done. But that system can work. Let's expand it and make it work even better. We got to cut out the rhetoric. We got to cut out we have to be realistic, be reasonable, and we got to work together on this. Please join me in being careful about, reminding that person next to you when they all of a sudden start spouting off that rhetoric that, hey, look, that's not helping the situation. Let's come up with realistic solutions and move the ball forward together. Thank you.
I may not have said earlier, I don't know if I did or not, each person on the panel is going to give a 10, 15-minute introduction, and then we'll have them discuss and we'll take questions from the floor. I'm not sure I ever went over exactly how